The red warning lights flashed across the bridge of the Korean command ship as Commander Zevka watched his home world burn on the main screen. The massive creatures of the Vorthak swarm moved like living shadows across the surface of Kellen 7, consuming everything. Their path, cities that had stood for thousands of years, disappeared in hours. Millions of his people were dying, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Sir, we have lost contact with the northern colonies, reported his communications officer, her voice shaking. The swarm has reached the capital city. Zevka closed his 4 eyes and tried to stay calm. The Koreans were a peaceful people. They had never needed to fight wars. Their ships were designed for exploration and trade, not battle. When the Vorthak swarm had first appeared at the edge of their space 3 months ago, they had tried diplomacy. The creatures had responded by eating the ambassadors' ship. How many evacuation ships have we lost? He asked. 17 in the last hour. Sir, the biofighters are too fast. Our escort ships cannot protect the civilians. The bridge fell silent except for the soft beeping of the warning systems. Zevka looked at his crew. They were all young, trained in peaceful exploration of space. None of them had ever seen war before the Vorthak arrived. Their pale blue skin had turned almost white with fear. Sir called out. Lieutenant Vel 9 from the science station, the swarm mothership is moving toward Killen Prime. At current speed, it will reach our home world in 6 days. 6 days. Zevka felt his heart racing. Kellen Prime held over 2 billion colorans. The evacuation ships could maybe save a few million before the swarm arrived. The rest would die. He had sent messages to every species in the galaxy begging for military help. The responses had been disappointing. The Alteran Republic said they were too far away to help in time. The Nexus Federation offered to take refugees, but would not send warships. The mighty Vor Empire simply ignored the message completely. Most species gave the same answer. Fighting the Vorthak swarm was suicide. The creatures bred too fast, adapted too quickly, and consumed entire star systems. 3 major civilizations had already fallen to them in the past 5 years. Nobody wanted to be next. Commander said his communications officer, we are receiving another response to our distress call. Zephyr sighed. Probably another refusal or offer to take a few thousand refugees. Put it on screen. The message appeared in the common galactic language. It was short and simple. This is Earth Defense Command. We received your call for help. A military fleet is being prepared. Help is on the way. Signed, General Paul Hughes, Human Defense Corps. The bridge crew stared at the message. Lieutenant Vel 9 quickly checked the galactic database. Sir, I cannot find any information about these humans in our records. Earth is not listed as a member of any known confederation or empire. Where is their home world? Asked Zevka. Scanning found it. The planet is listed as Earth Sol System, Orion Arm. Distance 347 light years. Sir, there is a warning flag on this system. What kind of warning? Vel 9's voice became quiet. It is classified as a Class 9 death world. The database says no known galactic species should attempt to land. They're without full environmental protection. Gravity is too high. Atmosphere is toxic to most life forms. And the surface is extremely dangerous. Zevka felt confused. How could anyone live on such a world? And if they did, What kind of creatures would they be? Sir, called the communications officer. I am detecting multiple ships entering. Our space, large ships they are not. Vorak bioships, on screen the main display showed a fleet of strain vessels approaching their position. The ships looked different from anything Zevka had seen before. They were made of metal and composite materials, not the living crystal that most advanced species used. The design seemed primitive, but they were big, very big. I count 27 ships, reported the tactical officer. The largest appears to be over 800 m long. They are moving directly toward the Vorak forward positions. A new message appeared on the communication screen. This time it included a visual transmission. Zevka saw a creature unlike any he had encountered before. The being had only 2 eyes positioned at the front of its head like a predator. Its skin was a strange brown color and it had hair growing from the top of its skull. When it smiled, Zevka could see sharp white teeth. This is Captain Ryan Foster of the Earth Defense Ship Defiance. We are responding to your distress call. Commander Zevka. Request permission to engage hostile forces in your space. Zeva tried to speak but found his voice caught in his throat. This creature looked dangerous. Everything about it screamed predator too. His peaceful mind, the forward-facing eyes, the confident posture, even the way it showed its teeth when it smiled. Captain Foster, he managed to say, we appreciate your response, but you should know that the Vorak swarm has over 300 bioships in this system. They have already destroyed most of our defense fleet. The human captain's expression did not change. Understood, Commander. 300 contacts. My fleet is moving to intercept. We will establish a defensive perimeter around your evacuation ships. Captain, with respect, you only have 27 ships. The mathematics do not favor survival. Now the human did something that chilled Zephyr to his bones. The creature's smile grew wider, showing more of those sharp teeth. Commander, where I come from, those are pretty good odds. We will begin engagement in 30 minutes. Please keep your ships clear of the combat zone. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Sir, whispered Lieutenant 9, should we warn them? The Vorak bioships are 3 times larger than their vessels. Their weapons appear to be primitive projectile systems. Zevka watched the human fleet move steadily toward the approaching swarm. The ships moved in perfect formation like predators hunting in a pack. There was no hesitation, no requests for additional support, no discussions about tactical withdrawal. Sir, the humans are hailing the Vorthak swarm, reported communications. What are they saying? It appears to be some form of warning or challenge. The translation is unusual. Something about this being their only chance to surrender. Several crew members made soft sounds of disbelief. Surrender. The Vorak had never retreated from any battle. They fought until every last creature was dead. The Vorak are responding. Continued communications. They are accelerating toward the human fleet, all 300 ships. Zevka felt his heart sink. These strange creatures from the deadly world had come to help, and now they were going to die. He had hoped for salvation, but instead he had led another species to destruction. Sir, the human fleet is breaking formation. They are charging directly at the swarm. On the main screen, Zico watched 27 primitive ships fly straight into a cloud of 300 BM monsters. It should have been over in minutes. It should have been a massacre. Instead, something impossible began to happen. The first Vorak bioship exploded in a ball of fire and debris, then another and another. The humans were not just fighting the swarm, they were winning. "Get me a direct line to Captain Foster," ordered Zevka. "I need to know who these people really are." The battle had lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the space around Kalin 7 was filled with the broken pieces of Vorak biohips. Of the 300 creatures that had attacked, none remained alive. The human fleet had lost only 2 ships, and even those crews had been rescued before their vessels exploded. Commander Zeva stood in the docking bay of his command ship, waiting to meet these strange saviors face to face. His medical team had warned him that the creatures might be dangerous to be around. The scan showed they were natural predators with high levels of aggressive chemicals in their blood. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Captain Ryan Foster stepped through, followed by several other humans. Zevot tried not to step backward when he saw them up close. They were larger than he had expected, with thick bones and heavy muscles. Their movements were smooth and controlled, like the great hunting beasts from Calorian mythology. "Commander Zevka," said Captain Foster, extending one of his 5-fingered hands, "it is good to meet you in person." Zevka carefully touched the human's hand with his own delicate fingers. The captain's grip was gentle, but Zeka could feel the strength hidden beneath the skin. "Captain Foster, my people owe you our lives. How did you defeat the swarm so easily?" The human tilted his head, looking confused. "Easily, Commander, we lost 2 good ships and 37 crew members. That was not easy." Behind the captain, a female human stepped forward. She had long brown hair and carried what appeared to be medical equipment. "Commander, I am Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Fleet Medical Officer. I would like to request permission to examine your wounded. Our medical database has no information about Calorian physiology." Zevka looked at the device she carried. It seemed primitive compared to Calorian medical scanners, but her offer was genuine. "Of course, Doctor, our medical bay is on deck 7. But I must warn you, our biology is very different from yours. We adapt quickly," said Dr. Rodriguez, with a smile that showed those predator teeth. Over the next few hours, Zevka learned things about humans that frightened and amazed him. Dr. Rodriguez worked alongside Calorian doctors, asking questions about their healing methods. When she discovered that Corians could regenerate damaged limbs over several months, she seemed fascinated rather than surprised. "On our world," she explained to Dr. Velen, the chief medical officer, "we have creatures that can regrow entire body parts. Some can even regrow their heads." Dr. Velthon's skin turned pale with shock. "What kind of world produces such creatures?" "A competitive one," replied Dr. Rodriguez simply. Meanwhile, Captain Foster was meeting with Zevka and the other commanders in the conference room. The humans had brought their own data pads, which looked bulky and crude compared to Calorian technology. "Captain," said Admiral Kefser, the senior military officer, "our scans of your ships show interesting results. Your weapons appear to use simple projectile systems and chemical explosives. How do they penetrate Vorak bio-armor?" Captain Foster looked at the other humans before answering. "Admiral, we use kinetic energy weapons. Because they work, the bio-armor is designed to absorb energy beams and plasma bursts, but it cannot stop a solid metal projectile moving at high speed. But surely your civilization has developed energy weapons, asked Admiral Kev. Sir, we have them, said Commander Bate Williams, a female human with short black hair. But sometimes the old ways work better. We learned long ago not to abandon simple solutions just because we found complex ones. Lieutenant 9 checked his data pad. Commander Williams, our records show that your home world, Earth, has a gravity 1.7 times normal standard. The atmospheric pressure is also much higher than optimal. How do your people survive in such conditions? The humans exchanged looks. Commander Williams shrugged. We evolved there. It is normal for us, but the database lists Earth as uninhabitable, insisted 9. The surface temperature changes are extreme. There are massive storms that can destroy cities. The geology is unstable with frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. That is all true, agreed Captain Foster. Earth can be dangerous, but it is our home. Dr. Velthon entered the conference room looking disturbed. He whispered something to Admiral Kaur in the Korean language, but the translation system picked it up. Admiral, the human blood samples show impossible chemistry. Their bodies contain natural toxins that would kill most galactic species. They also have redundant organ systems and healing factors that seem designed for severe trauma survival. The humans heard the translation and did not seem bothered by it. Doctor, said Dr. Rodriguez, may I ask what your world was like when your species evolved? Dr. Velthon looked surprised by the question. Kalen Prime has always been a peaceful world, stable weather, abundant food, no dangerous predators. Our ancestors developed intelligence to better organize society and explore the stars. That explains a lot, said Commander Williams quietly. What do you mean? Asked Admiral K. Sauer. Captain Foster leaned forward in his chair. Admiral, Earth is what we call a death world. Everything there is trying to kill everything else. The weather can change from freezing cold to burning hot in hours. We have predators that hunt in packs, poisonous plants and animals, diseases that can wipe out entire populations. How do you survive? Whispered Zevka. We adapt, we fight, we never give up, said Foster simply. Commander Williams activated her data pad and showed them images of Earth. The Collins gasped at what they saw. Massive storms that covered entire continents, volcanic explosions that could destroy islands, creatures with claws and teeth that seemed designed only for killing. This is your home world? Asked Dr. Velthon, his voice barely a whisper. Yes, said Dr. Rodriguez, and we love it. The room fell silent. The Collins tried to understand how any species could love such a dangerous place. Lieutenant Jake Morrison, a young human who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Commander Zevka, what happened to your people when the Vorek first attacked? We tried to negotiate. We offered them territory, resources, anything they wanted. When that failed, we tried to evacuate our worlds. You did not fight back. Zevka looked confused. Fight back? They had superior numbers and weapons. Logic suggested that resistance would only increase casualties. The humans exchanged glances again. Morrison nodded slowly. On Earth we have a saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people To do nothing, but surely you must. Calculate odds of survival before engaging in combat, asked Admiral. Kef, sir. Captain Foster smiled. That predator. Smile again, Admiral. If we only fought battles we were sure to win, we would never have left our caves. Sometimes you fight not because you can win, but because you cannot live with yourself if you do not try. A new alarm began sounding throughout the ship. Communications officer's voice came over the speakers. All senior staff to the bridge. We are detecting a new Vorak formation approaching from the outer system. Estimated number of bioships over 1,000. The Colorians looked at each other with fear in their eyes. 1,000 biohips was more than 10 times what the humans had just fought. Captain Foster stood up and straightened his uniform. Gentlemen, it looks like we have more work to do. Captain, said Admiral K, sir. With respect, 1,000 ships is impossible. My people should begin evacuation immediately. Foster looked at the Korean admiral with those predator eyes. Admiral, we did not come here to evacuate your people. We came here to save them. There is a difference. As the humans left for their ships, Zevka heard Commander Williams talking to Dr. Rodriguez. Alina, make sure the medical bay is ready. This is going to be a long day. Dr. Rodriguez laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be both cheerful and terrifying. Bait on Earth, we would call this. Tuesday, Zevka watched them go and wondered what kind of species found 1,000 to 1 odds amusing instead of terrifying. The human fleet moved toward the approaching Vorak swarm like hunters, closing in on prey. Commander Zeva watched from his command bridge as 25 human ships faced off against more than 1,000 biovessels. The mathematics made no sense. This should be a massacre. Sir, the humans are requesting that we move our evacuation ships to minimum safe distance, reported the communications officer. How far back do they want us to go? Asked Admiral K, sir. They say 5,000 km should be enough. Admiral Kevser looked shocked. 5,000. The blast radius from that many ships exploding will reach us even at that distance, sir, called Lieutenant 9. From his station, the humans are not retreating, they are actually accelerating toward the swarm. On the main screen, the human ships spread out into attack formation. Unlike Calorian military doctrine, which emphasized defensive positioning and long-range engagement, the humans were charging directly at their enemies. Captain Foster's voice came through the communication system. Commander Zeka, you might want to record this for your military archives. My people are about to show you why Earth breeds survivors. The first Vorak biohips opened fire with their plasma weapons. Bright green energy beams crossed space toward the human fleet. Zevka expected to see the primitive human ships destroyed instantly. Instead, something amazing happened. The human ships did not try to dodge the plasma beams. Instead, they flew directly through them. The energy weapons that should have melted their hulls seemed to bounce off strain, shimmering barriers around each ship. Sir, the humans appear to be using some kind of deflector shield, said Vel 9. But our scans show no shield generators on their ships. Then how are they surviving the plasma fire? Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over the communication channel. Commander Zevka, we are not using energy shields. Our ship hulls are made from materials designed to absorb and disperse heat. Plasma weapons work well against most Galactic species because their ships are built for efficiency, not survival. The human fleet reached the outer edge of the vortex swarm and opened fire. The sound that came through space was unlike anything the Quarians had heard before. Instead of the clean energy discharge of plasma weapons, there was a harsh, rattling noise like metal being torn apart. "What are those weapons?" asked Admiral Kevser. "Kinetic projectile systems," replied Commander Williams. "From her fighter squadron, we call them guns. Very old technology, but it works." The Vorak biohips began exploding as streams of metal projectiles tore through their organic armor. The creatures inside screamed across all communication frequencies, sounds of pain and rage that made the Kalian crew cover their hearing organs. "The bioships are trying to surround the human fleet," reported the tactical officer. "Standard swarm tactics," but the humans did not respond like any military force the Colorans had studied. Instead of maintaining formation and fighting defensively, each human ship began operating independently. They twisted and turned through space like living things, always moving, never staying still long enough for the biochips to target them effectively. Pilot Danny Cooper's voice crackled over the radio. "This is Fighter 7. I have 12 bugs on my tail and I am running low on ammunition. Anyone want to help me out?" "Copy that, 7," replied another pilot. "This is Fighter 3. I am coming around to your position. Get ready to break left on my mark." Zevka watched as the two human fighters performed a maneuver that defied everything he knew about space combat. Fighter 7 suddenly stopped firing and dove toward a cluster of bioships. Fighter 3 came from the opposite direction, firing continuously. The bio ships trying to follow Fighter 7 flew directly into Fighter 3's weapons fire. "How did they coordinate that without computer assistance?" asked Vel 9. "Experience," said Captain Foster. "My pilots have been flying together for years. They think like a pack." The word pack sent chills through the Korean crew. Pack hunters were creatures of nightmare in their peaceful culture. The battle continued for 3 hours. Slowly, impossibly, the human fleet began winning. Every time a group of bio ships seemed to gain an advantage, the humans would adapt their tactics. When the Vortek tried to use their size advantage by ramming human ships, the humans began using the bioship's own momentum against them, leading them into collisions with each other. "Sir," reported the communications officer, "we are receiving a distress call from one of the human ships. The vessel appears to be heavily damaged." "Which ship?" asked Zevka. "The destroyer UES Guardian Hall. Breached in multiple locations. Life support failing." Zever expected the damaged ship to retreat or request evacuation support. Instead, something else happened. "This is Captain Lisa Carter aboard the Guardian," came a calm female voice. "We have lost main engines and most of our weapon systems. We are going to ram the largest biohip we can find. It has been an honor serving with you all." "Lisa negative," said Captain Foster sharply. "We can extract your crew." "No time, Ryan. There are 50 bio ships heading for the evacuation fleet. We can take out their lead ship and break their formation." "Guardian out." The Koreans watched in horrified amazement as the crippled human ship accelerated toward a massive Vorak biovessel. The creature was easily 5 times larger than the human destroyer, but Captain Carter aimed her ship directly at its center mass. The collision lit up space. like a small star, when the light faded. Both ships were gone. Why did she do that? Whispered Doctor. Velon, her crew could have been saved. Because 50 bioships would have killed thousands of your people, replied Doctor Rodriguez simply. Lisa made the choice. That would save the most lives. The sacrifice worked. The Vorak formation broke apart, confused by the loss of their lead. The human fighters swarmed through them, destroying the scattered biovessels one by one. By the 6th hour, the space around Kalen 7 was quiet. Again, of the 1,000 Vorak biohips, less than 50 had escaped back into deep space. The human fleet had lost 4 ships and over 200 crew members. Captain Foster said, Commander Zevka, your people have done something impossible today. How do we thank you for such sacrifice? Foster's image appeared on the main screen. His uniform was torn and there was blood on his face, but he was smiling. Commander, you do not need to thank us. This is what we do. But why? You barely know us. Why would you risk everything for strangers? The human captain was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was serious. Commander, a long time ago on Earth, there was a man who said that evil wins when good people do nothing. Today, your people were in danger. We could help. That made it simple. Admiral Kevsur shook his head in disbelief. Captain, your species makes no logical sense. You risk death for people you have never met. You fight battles you should not be able to win. You sacrifice your own lives to save others. Commander Williams appeared beside Captain Foster on the screen. She was bandaged and looked exhausted, but her eyes were bright. Admiral, logic is useful for many things, but sometimes you have to do what is right instead of what is logical. And what happens now? Asked Zeko. Now we help you rebuild your defenses, said Captain Foster. The Vorak will be back eventually. When they come, we want your people to be ready. Dr. Rodriguez joined them on screen. Commander, we would also like to establish cultural exchange programs. My people are very interested in learning about peaceful civilizations. We have much to learn from each other. As the human fleet began rescue operations for survivors, Zevka realized that everything the galaxy thought it knew about strength and survival was wrong. The most advanced species were not always the most powerful, sometimes the greatest. Strength came from the willingness to fight for others even when victory seemed impossible. The Deathworlders had come to help, and they had changed everything. 2 weeks after the Great Battle, the human and Calorian fleets worked together to rebuild the damaged stations. Around Kala 7, Commander Zeka watched from his bridge as human engineering teams worked alongside technicians. What he saw amazed him every day. The humans worked in ways that made no sense to thinking. When a repair job was dangerous, human workers volunteered to do it themselves instead of sending robots. When a damaged station section was unstable, humans went inside anyway, trusting their teammates to keep them safe. Dr. Alina Rodriguez had set up a joint medical facility aboard the command ship. She spent her days learning about Calorian biology while teaching human medicine to the alien doctors. Dr. Thon found her methods both fascinating and terrifying. Dr. Rodriguez, he said one morning, I must ask you about human healing practices. Yesterday I watched your medic treat a broken bone by setting it manually. Why do you not use cellular regeneration chambers? Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her medical scanner. We do have advanced healing technology, Dr. Velen, but sometimes the old ways work just as well. Human bones that heal naturally often become stronger than before they were broken. That seems impossible. How can damage make something stronger? Because our bodies are designed to adapt to stress. When we exercise, we tear muscle fibers. When they heal, they grow back bigger and stronger. When we break bones, they heal back denser. When we get sick, our immune systems learn to fight that disease better. Dr. Velthon made notes on his data pad, so humans actually benefit from injury and illness in a way. Yes, our evolution taught us that what does not kill us makes us stronger. Meanwhile, in the engineering sections, Sergeant Alex Turner was working with Korean mechanics to repair damaged hull plating. The Koreans used precision tools and careful measurements for every task. Turner used a large hammer. Sergeant Turner asked Engineer Kev 2, "Why do you strike the metal with such force?" "Our calculations show that precise pressure applied gradually would achieve better results." Turner paused in his hammering and wiped sweat from his forehead. "Engineer, sometimes you need to convince the metal to cooperate. A few good hits in the right place can fix things that fancy tools cannot touch." "But what if you damage something by hitting it too hard?" Turner grinned. "Then I hit it until it works again." Korean engineer looked horrified, but he had to admit that Turner's repairs lasted longer than the ones made with precision tools. In the command center, Captain Foster was meeting with Admiral Kaser to plan defenses for the next Vorak attack. The Korean admiral had spent days studying human tactical manuals, trying to understand how they won battles. "Captain Foster," he said, "I have read your military history. Your species has been fighting wars for thousands of years. Most galactic civilizations abandoned warfare once they reached space travel. Why do humans continue to study combat?" Foster leaned back in his chair. "Admiral, we learned long ago that hoping for peace is not the same as preparing for it. Every generation of humans has faced some kind of threat: natural disasters, diseases, hostile animals, other humans. We stayed alive by being ready for anything. But surely once you achieved interstellar travel, you could have chosen a peaceful path like other species." "We did choose peace, Admiral. We just chose prepared peace." Admiral Kevser pulled up a star chart on his data pad. "Captain, our intelligence reports indicate that the main Vorak Hive fleet will arrive in this system within 1 month. They will bring thousands of bio ships. Even with your help, the numbers seem impossible." Foster studied the chart. "Admiral, you're thinking about this wrong. You see numbers and calculate odds. We see a problem that needs solving. What is the difference? Numbers tell you whether you should fight. Problems tell you that you must fight." That evening, Dr. Rodriguez was in the recreation area with several human and crew members. She had convinced some of the Koreans to watch human entertainment programs. The results were disturbing to the peaceful aliens. Lieutenant Jake Morrison had brought a collection of human movies from Earth. The first one he showed was about a group of soldiers defending a small outpost against overwhelming enemy forces. "This is considered entertainment?" asked Dr. Velthon, covering his eyes during a battle scene. "It is a classic," said Morrison. "It shows how a small group of determined people can hold off a much larger force through courage and teamwork. But they all die at the end, yes, but they complete their mission. They save the people they were protecting. Dr. Velthon looked confused. How is that a good story if everyone dies? Commander Bate Williams answered from across the room where she was cleaning her sidearm. Because they chose to die for something important that makes them heroes. Concept of choosing death for a cause was completely alien to Korean thinking. Dr. Thun tried to understand. On Kalen Prime, our stories are about explorers who discover new worlds and scientists who solve great mysteries. Heroes who live to see the results of their work. Those are good stories too, said Dr. Rodriguez, but humans also tell stories about people who sacrifice themselves so others can have better lives. It teaches our children that some things are more important than personal survival. Morrison started another movie, this one about a natural disaster on Earth. The Koreans watched in horror as earthquakes destroyed cities, volcanoes erupted, and massive storms flooded entire regions. This actually happens on your home world, whispered engineer Kev 2. Every year, replied Morrison casually. Earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, wildfires. Earth is always trying to kill us in new ways. How do you live with such constant danger? Sergeant Turner looked up from the weapon he was maintaining. You adapt. You prepare. You help your neighbors. When disaster strikes, most importantly, you never give up, but the stress must be terrible. Williams laughed. Engineer. Humans perform better under stress. Our bodies release chemicals that make us stronger, faster, and more alert. When we are in danger, we actually need some stress to function properly. Dr. Velthon made more notes. So humans require dangerous situations to maintain peak performance. Not require, corrected Dr. Rodriguez. But we are built for it. Millions of years of evolution on a death world created people who thrive under pressure. The conversation was interrupted by an alarm from the bridge. Captain Foster's voice came over the communication system. All senior staff to the command center. We have detected long-range scouts from the main Vorik High Fleet. The humans immediately stopped what they were doing and moved with purpose toward their battle stations. The Colorins followed more slowly, their faces pale with fear. In the command center, the tactical display showed dozens of small bioships approaching from deep space. They were still 3 days away, but their presence meant the main fleet was not far behind. How many scouts? Asked Foster. 37 confirmed contacts, reported the sensor operator. They appear to be mapping our defensive positions. Admiral Kevser studied the display. Captain, these scout ships will report our strength back to the main fleet. They will know exactly how many ships we have and where they are positioned. Good, said Foster with that predator smile. Let them look good, Captain. Once they know our true numbers, they will bring enough ships to overwhelm us completely. Williams joined them at the tactical display. Admiral, you are still thinking like prey. Predators want their enemies to know they are coming. It makes the hunt more interesting. I do not understand. Foster pointed at the scout ships on the display. Admiral, those scouts think they are gathering intelligence on us. Actually, we are gathering intelligence on them. Every ship they send to look at us tells us something about their technology, their tactics, and their weaknesses. Turner appeared beside them still, carrying his hammer, plus we want them to bring everything they have, better to fight the whole hive fleet here where we are ready for them, then chase them around the galaxy for years. The Quarians stared at the humans in amazement, while they saw the approaching scouts as a sign of impending doom. The humans saw them as an opportunity to study their enemy before the real battle began. Dr. Rodriguez entered the command center, carrying her medical kit. How long until the main fleet arrives? Best estimate is 5 days, replied Foster. Good, that gives us time to set up the field hospital and prepare for casualties. As the humans began planning their defense against impossible odds, Admiral Kevser realized that he was witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history, a species that not only refused to surrender to superior force but actually looked forward to the challenge of fighting it. The main Vorik hive fleet appeared at the edge of the system, like a dark cloud blotting out the stars. Commander Zeka counted the contacts on his scanner and felt his heart stop. 3,000 biohips led by something massive that defied easy description, sir, whispered Lieutenant Vel 9. The central vessel appears to be over 50 km long. Our computers classify it as a brood queen, a living ship that can spawn new warriors during battle. Captain Foster stood beside Zeva on the bridge, studying the approaching fleet. With calm eyes, the human showed no sign of fear, even though his 21 remaining ships faced odds of more than 100 to 1. Commander, said Foster, I need you to move all civilian vessels to the far side of Kalen Prime. This battle is going to cover a lot of space, Captain. Surely you must see that resistance is hopeless. That fleet could destroy entire star systems. Foster smiled that Predator smile. Commander, where I come from, we have a saying, it is not the size of the dog in the fight, it is the size of the fight in the dog. The human fleet moved into attack formation as the Vorik swarm approached. Instead of spreading out defensively like any sane military force would do, the humans formed a tight spearhead aimed directly at the center of the enemy fleet. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice came over the communication system from the medical bay. All stations, this is medical. We are ready for whatever comes next. Remember, no one fights alone today. Commander Bate Williams led her fighter squadron toward the outer edge of the swarm. Her 12 small ships looked like insects next to the massive biovessels, but her voice was steady and confident. Fighter Squadron Alpha is in position. We have visual on the Brood Queen. She is as ugly as advertised. The battle began when the Vorik opened fire with thousands of plasma weapons at once. Space lit up with green energy beams that would have vaporized any normal fleet instantly, but the human ships did not try to avoid the attack. Instead, they flew straight through the plasma storm, their strange hull materials absorbing and dispersing the energy. Impossible, breathed Admiral Kevser. No shields can withstand that much concentrated fire. We are not using shields, replied Captain Foster calmly. Our ships are built like everything else on Earth to survive what should kill them. The human fleet reached the Vorik formation and opened fire. The sound of their kinetic weapons filled space with mechanical thunder. Biohips began exploding as streams of metal projectiles tore through their organic armor. But this time the Vorik had adapted. The smaller bioships swarmed around the human Vessels like angry insects, using their numbers to overwhelm individual ships. The destroyer UES Thunder disappeared. Under a cluster of 50 biofighters, the cruiser UES Lightning took critical damage and began falling behind, sir. Reported the tactical officer. The humans are taking heavy casualties. They have lost 4 ships in the first hour. Zevka watched the battle with growing despair. The humans were fighting with impossible courage, but even they could not overcome such overwhelming numbers. Then something changed. Commander Williams broke away from her fighter squadron and dove directly toward the massive Brood Queen. Shiker small ship disappeared into the creature's defensive swarm, but her voice came through clearly on the radio. Foster, I'm reading massive energy buildups inside the Queen. She is preparing to spawn a new generation of fighters. If she succeeds, this battle is over. Bait. Negative. Do not attempt a solo run on that thing, Ryan. There is no choice. The spawn chambers are too deep for our big ships to reach. It has to be a fighter. Williams' ship twisted through the defensive swarm with impossible skill, dodging plasma fire and ramming attacks from dozens of biofighters. She reached the Brood Queen's hull and began flying along its surface, looking for an opening. Sergeant Alex Turner's voice came over the radio from his damaged ship. Williams, this is Turner. My engines are dead, but my weapons still work. I can provide covering fire for your run. Alex, you will be destroyed. Ma'am, I did not come this far to worry about that now. Turner's crippled ship fired everything it had at the bio fighters pursuing Williams. His sacrifice gave her the opening she needed. Her fighter disappeared into a biological opening on the Queen's hull. For 10 minutes, there was no word from Williams. The battle raged around the Brood Queen as human ships fought desperately to keep the swarm busy. Then explosions began rippling along the creature's massive body. This is Williams, came her voice weak but alive. I found the spawn chambers. Setting charges now. This thing is not going to be making any more fighters today. The Brood Queen's death scream echoed across every communication frequency as massive explosions tore through its body. Without their leader, the Varek swarm began to lose coordination. Individual bioships started fleeing instead of fighting, but the humans did not let them escape. What followed was not a battle but a hunt. Human ships pursued the fleeing biovessels across the system, destroying them one by one. By the end of the day, less than 200 Vortex ships had escaped into deep space. Captain Foster's ship, heavily damaged but still fighting, limped back to the Korean fleet. When he appeared on the main screen, his uniform was torn and burned, but his eyes were bright with victory. Commander Zevka, he said, the Vorek Hive fleet has been destroyed. Your people are safe. Zevka tried to speak but found no words. Finally he managed. Captain, how many of your people did we lose today? Foster's expression became serious. We lost 8 ships and over 400 crew members, but Commander Williams made it out of the Brood Queen alive. Sergeant Turner was rescued from his damaged ship. Dr. Rodriguez says our wounded will recover. Captain, your species has done something impossible today. You have broken the Vorek threat that has terrified the galaxy for years. How can we ever repay such sacrifice? Foster was quiet for a moment, then he said, Commander, you can honor our sacrifice by living good lives, build your cities, Explore the stars, make discoveries that help everyone. That is payment enough. Admiral Kaser joined Zevka on the bridge. Captain Foster, the Galactic Consortium, would be honored to offer humanity full membership. Your people have proven themselves the greatest warriors in known space. Thank you, Admiral, but we must decline. Humans prefer to remain independent. However, we would like to establish trade agreements and cultural exchange programs with your people. Dr. Rodriguez appeared beside Foster. On the screen, Commander, we would also like to set up permanent communication relays. If anyone in the galaxy needs help again, they should know they can call on Earth. 3 months later, Lieutenant Jake Morrison sat at his monitoring station on the edge of human space. The story of humanity's intervention with the Quarians had spread throughout the galaxy. Several other species had already sent messages of gratitude and requests for friendship. His communication board lit up with an incoming distress signal from the Riel sector. Morrison read the message quickly. A peaceful trading species was being attacked by pirates. The local authorities were overwhelmed and civilian ships were being destroyed. Morrison smiled and began composing humanity's response. The message was simple but carried the weight of a promise that the galaxy was beginning to understand. This is Earth Defense Command. We have received your distress call. Help is on the way across human space. Fleet commanders received their orders and began preparing for another mission. The Deathworlders were going to war again, and not for conquest or profit, but because somewhere in the dark between the stars, good people needed help, and humans had never learned how to ignore that call. In the depths of space, word spread from species to species. When evil threatened the innocent, when the strong preyed upon the weak, when all hope seemed lost, there was one message that could change everything. The humans were